Yo, it's your guy Bendu coming at y'all with another clip from the Twitch stream the other night. Definitely go show love on the Twitch, link down below. But as always, like, comment, subscribe, and share on this channel. Definitely show love. I want to continue posting content here, but a lot of the topics I talk about on the Twitch are going to be posted here as well on this channel. So definitely show love on this channel, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Show love on the Twitch as well. And thank you for tuning in. Enjoy. Yeah, man. So I saw this article with Cardi B earlier. It was in the Hill. It popped up on my feed. Hold up. So when if any of you know, on one of my first videos I did on American Autopsy was about Cardi B. So I was talking about how Cardi B she used to say a lot of progressive stuff. Like she used to talk about how, she was basically pretty much a Bernie supporter. Pretty much. That's basically what a lot of the stuff she said lined her up with that. She even did like the whole interview with Bernie. I'm pretty sure she endorsed him too, if I'm not mistaken. But then when the Democratic Party establishment, all aligned behind Joe Biden, that's when you saw her rhetoric start changing. Like she started saying, like she went from, she was talking about Joe Biden's war record when it came to war and all that shit. And then all that just evaporated. Never heard from her about that again. And I made a video about Alyssa Milano as well that led to her blocking me on Twitter because there was like a hashtag going around. This was when her and Rose McGowan was beefing because it came out Joe Biden had raped Tara Reid. That evidence came out, and people like Alyssa Milano that were beholden to the Democratic Party was just pretending like it didn't happen. And Rose McGowan was calling her out. And she was like, and then the hashtag started, Alyssa Milano is a fraud. And I hopped in and tweeted out my video with the hashtag, and she ended up blocking me on Twitter. So interesting story with that. But yeah, Cardi B surprisingly has some good takes. Now, this take she had on Russia, I mean, look, I'm not going to attack her for it. It's kind of just taking the middle ground, if I'm being honest. But hang on. Give me 1 second. Exactly. That's Alyssa Milano's whole bag, bro. On God. But yeah. Give me 1 second to set this story up. Nope, that's not that. I meant to set it up before I hit stream. My bad, y'all. All right, here we go. So yeah, this is the article from the Hill that I saw earlier. But yeah, it says Cardi B says she's not really on NATO or Russia's side amid the Ukraine crisis. So if any of y'all saw my first stream, I did now it sucks because I didn't check the box for it to save it, so you can't go back and watch it, which is why I've been thinking about redoing that segment again, because I thought I did a really good job on it. Let me know if you guys caught it and if you thought I did a good job and if I should redo it. But Jesus Christ, people always want to message me when I'm in the middle of a stream. My God, Millie Flights. Is he watching? Millie, hop in the chat if you're watching. Say what's up. Say what's up. Don't be a stranger. Out here acting light skin all the time. Fucking beige ass nigga. It's like, nah, that's my guy. But yeah, it says Cardi B says she's really not on either Russia or NATO side after making comments that war should be the last thing world leaders should be worrying about amid the crisis in Ukraine. She's 100% right about that. I actually want to say a lot of things, but I'm just going to mind my bit. I wish she would say it because, she used to spit some fire back in the day. And I'm definitely not talking about her music because her music is garbage. But when it came to a lot of her political opinions, I actually agreed with her a lot on a lot of things. But she said, but I'm just going to mind my business because I feel like I had such a big platform now. I don't say the right thing. I might get killed. And you ain't, girl. Fuck out of here. You signed the fucking, what are they called? Who's Cardi B's management? CAA. Fuck out of here. You changed your whole political opinion because of CAA. Fuck out of here. You ain't getting killed for shit. The Up rapper said in a video posted Tuesday on Twitter, I'm really not on NATO's side. I'm really not on Russia's side. The fact that Cardi B even knows what NATO is, and that's not me shitting on her because she's an actual like history buff, which I was surprised by too. And it's not, again, it's not because of the obvious things that people point to, but it's because I don't expect celebrities to follow this shit at all. Like, for example, Ben Affleck claims to care about Muslims, but then he turns around and makes a movie like Argo that completely shits on one of the most important revolutions in the Islamic world. So that's the type of shit that I'm talking about. But that's a whole nother. I may cover that on American Autopsy or here, because like it may, it's a blend of pop culture and politics. I may talk about it here. I don't know, maybe. But she said, I'm actually on the citizen side because at the end of the day, the world is having a crisis right now. That's exactly right. But unfortunately, the problem is the Ukrainian government. Like, for example, the two regions that Putin recognized today, the DPR and the LPR, their citizens they don't feel part of the Kiev Ukrainian government. And they've been asking Russia and Putin to do this for years. The whole Minsk, situation plays into this as well. And with everything going on right now, the hawkishness that the United States has been pushing towards Russia and in regards to Ukraine, which, by the way, this is not about, none of this Ukraine stuff is about making sure Ukraine is democratic, because it's not. Ukraine's not democratic. Zelensky jailed his not his political opposition, but opposition journalistic outlets and shit like that, and shut down the outlets, and they're not democratic. And then the whole Nazi situation going on there too, like I talked about. I think I should redo that segment I did. I may actually do it because I'm doing a live stream for American Autopsy tomorrow. So I may do it there. I don't know yet. I'm gonna figure it out though. But so like right now, the Kiev government is not on the citizen side. Basically, everything they try to say that Nicolas Maduro's doing to his people, everything Bashar al-Assad is doing to his people, Iran, China, all the shit they say about all these countries that are supposedly the enemy. Like the United States is supporting that in countries like Ukraine and countries like Saudi Arabia, Israel. Like, they talk about the whole Uyghur narrative in China. Israel has been committing a genocide against the Palestinians since the fucking 40s. And nobody in America doesn't give a shit. So, and then America just got finished, still actually not even just got finished, still doing its, destabilization of the Middle East that's killed millions of people in that region. So this isn't about democracy. It's not about none of that shit. It's about cutting Russia out of the oil markets, the oil and natural gas markets. It's about isolating them from Europe as well, specifically Germany. They don't want Russia and Germany getting cozy because trade usually does that. It usually makes countries more friendly to each other when they trade with each other. And it's also about expanding NATO to excuse the ever increasing military budgets in Western governments. That's what this is all about. And in many ways, although I will never say European countries are entirely the victims of anything, because if you look at the way the Middle East is now today, and Africa, like all of those borders, like for example, the fucking Middle East isn't the way it is because like the sectarian shit that they try to say is going on there, that didn't exist prior to the British going in the way that it was. That wasn't a thing. Like ISIS, Al Qaeda, all of these like fanatical people were not a fucking thing. These were people that were propped up and given power by the United States in order to fight communism at the time, but really to steal their natural resources. It was never about, like, part of it was about ideology and communism and things like that, but it was mostly about stealing their fucking resources, stealing their oil, their wheat. In Afghanistan, even propping up the drug trade with the opium trade. They like to talk about how the Taliban are these evil ass fucking people, when under the Taliban, I'm not saying the Taliban are angels, but under the Taliban, drug production went down significantly because of their religious beliefs. They don't believe in that shit, basically. Honestly, let's just be real with it. So drug production went down, but when the United States went in and ousted the Taliban government, drug production, conveniently went up. Conveniently went up. So They even were using a lot of the old rat lines they used to use back in like the 80s and shit like that. So yeah, it's all bullshit. This isn't about the freedom of the Ukrainian people, but so that's where I feel, and I feel like Cardi knows that. So, um, and the world is having a crisis right now, and it's not COVID. I'll tell you that. It's a crisis. It's a crisis of the elites taking over shit. That's what the crisis is. The 29-year-old entertainer's remarks came a day after she responded to a Twitter user asking her to weigh in on the whole Russia thing. She said, "I wish these leaders would stop tripping about power and really think about who's really getting affected, citizens, because besides the whole world is in a crisis." Cardi B, who was born Bald Belkalis Almanzar, I think that's how you say that, wrote to her more than 21 million Twitter followers. War, sanctions, invasion should be the last thing these leaders should worry about, she said, which they're issuing sanctions on Russia right now, targeting their elite, but really the people that are going to suffer from this are the Russian people. But, they put a pause on Nord Stream 2, which is the whole pipeline situation thing that's going on. So Nord Stream 2 is this pipeline that's supposed to, more efficiently and safely and all that stuff, get oil to countries like Germany and a lot of the EU, easily. I like to post a lot of political stuff on Facebook because I'm trying to get the everyday American to see what's going on. I feel like, American people are just, they're oblivious, and not on purpose. People gotta live their fucking lives. You feel me? But I pointed this out. I said most Trump supporters think Trump was taking an anti-interventionist stance by calling out NATO allies the NATO allies' lack of investment in the imperialist cabal that is NATO. However, that's the furthest thing from the truth. Trump was basically acting as a mafia boss, attempting to extort European nations for more weapons spending, manufacturing, and ramping up tensions with nations who refuse to bend the knee to American hegemonic domination. In essence, Trump was using his deal-making skills to reaffirm Europe's commitment to NATO rather than abolishing it, like he alluded to multiple times during his 2016 campaign. And it's just like, that's the whole thing. This isn't helping the Europe. This isn't helping the German people at all. It's not helping them at all. So these are things that I would like Cardi B to say, and I know she knows this. I keep trying to tell people Cardi's not dumb. Oh, she's not dumb. She plays a character like a lot of these rappers do. That's what a lot of people don't understand about rap too. It's a bunch of characters. These niggas ain't actually who they say they are in their songs. Most of them aren't. Very few. There's very few that are. Very few. But most of these niggas aren't. So, White House Principal Deputy National Security, whatever his name is, Jonathan Feiner, said Tuesday that Russia's decision to send troops to 2 breakaway regions in Ukraine. So this is the ironic thing about this too. So the whole stink that they're making about China is that Taiwan has the right to not be part of China, which is complete bullshit if you understand the history of Taiwan and China. It's complete bullshit. But regardless, they make literally the argument people are making in favor of these 2 regions that Putin recognized, which, by the way, like there's like in Ukraine, like Ukraine wouldn't exist. So one of the things that Putin talked about, so Putin did a speech, by the way, and he talked about how like Ukraine wants the decommunization of Ukraine, which is basically like getting rid of the communist elements there. And a lot of people took Putin basically saying like, oh, they want decommunization, then we'll give it to, or that'll come or something like. What he was saying was that basically it was a jab at them. He was basically saying your country wouldn't even fucking exist if it wasn't for communism. And that's not Putin being an advocate of communism. If you know anything about Putin, he's not a communist at all. If you know anything about Putin. But what he's saying is your country wouldn't exist. That's why there are monuments there of people like Lenin, of people like Stalin and Khrushchev and all these Soviet era leaders, because they are the ones that created Ukraine. They're the ones that industrialized Ukraine. Like everything about Ukraine exists because of the Soviet Union. And you have them, a lot of the Azov battalion who are the neo-Nazis running around destroying not only, the monuments to people like Lenin and Stalin and Khrushchev and all these different people and all these different people, but they're also destroying World War II monuments basically because they're pro-Nazi, which is an aspect that they don't talk about. But but going back to the Taiwan thing, the fact that you have these two nations that are ethnically Russian for the most part, this is a very similar thing that happened with Crimea. Crimea was, they had a referendum, which was a vote that said that they wanted to become part of Russia, and that is what happened. So, this isn't necessarily the same thing, but it's basically Putin recognizing these two nations as independent nations, basically, which in my opinion is a good thing, especially if they don't want to be part of a country that is being ran by some neo-Nazis in there. I don't blame them. And then on top of that, you have this, the war that's been going on there, and the United States has been fueling that war. The United States and her allies, and some even like countries like Turkey and shit like that. So frenemies of the United States and Russia as well. So, it's just it's very like the propaganda the media pushes is crazy, but it says that sent troops to two breakaway regions of Ukraine represented the beginning of an invasion of the country. So they're talking about the peace forces that Putin sent because the Azov battalion were already shelling them. So actually the Ukrainian government was shelling the regions already and basically doing siege warfare by cutting off their water and power and blocking food from going in and shit like that. And then the Azov battalion was getting ready to go in and invade. And Putin basically stepped in and said, nah, we're not going to let that happen. Like, that's insane. So, yeah, that's the situation that's going on. And when, you see the celebrations that's going on in these two regions now, because this is something these countries have been asking for. This is what they want. So I just find it funny that the United States wants to respect Taiwan and their right to not be part of China, but not these two regions, not the DPK and LBK. It's hilarious to me. But, where we at? In her Tuesday video, the performer, a vocal critic of former President Donald Trump, who frequently reflects on political issues, railed against global inflation. Some economic experts have said Americans could see rising costs if the conflict between Russia and Ukraine worsens. This is another thing. The United States is talking about kicking Russia out of SWIFT, which is basically like this banking type of arrangement. And this is how they basically trade oil, basically, and get their money, basically. If they do that, that basically means Europe won't get no Russian fuel and it'll collapse their economy, no Russian fossil fuels, and it will literally collapse their economy and do a lot of damage to the American economy. So the fact that they're trying to do this at this time is very telling, that they're always going to serve the oligarch class, and that's just the fact of the matter. They don't like to see the world moving from the unipolar world that it's been for so long since the collapse of the Soviet Union, moving into a multipolar world. So she said, there's inflation not only in America, but everywhere in the world. It's really hard to get the economy back up, she said. According to data released by the Labor Department, consumer prices surged 6.8% last year. I actually did a story on the American Autopsy talking about how a lot of companies have been inducing this shit as well. So very interesting stuff. There are so much shipments and embarkments backed up. China's not really messing with us, so a lot of things are behind. A lot of goods. China's not fucking with us right now because of what the United States. The United States is doing similar things to them right now as well. In countries like Myanmar, Afghanistan, they're literally starving those people right now. So they're doing a lot of the same shit. I would say that the treatment they're giving China is a lot worse in many ways than Russia. So, but a lot of goods are behind, and this shit just made it way more complicated. The New York-born star lamented, "I'm just really annoyed by this," Cardi B said, "and I really wish that all world leaders right now just really came with a logical conclusion." Yeah, I do too, Cardi. So that was it. I found that interesting that Cardi had those opinions. I found that very interesting. But yeah, that story, it blows my mind, man. It really blows my mind. Go back to the main screen. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that because that was something like I was just reading up about it, so I wanted to talk about it. It's interesting, how you see, and then on top of that, like I said, you saw the switch with Cardi B. You feel me? You saw her go from talking about all this, pro-Bernie stuff and, which is basically democratic socialist reforms and shit like that. I'm still up in the air about that stuff because I'm learning a lot about, Marxism and Leninism, and realize that I have been propagandized by a lot of what I and a lot of other people like to call the synthetic left. This this whole, you know, anti-communism that exists within the American left is insanity to me. But yeah. But we're going to hop off of politics for a minute real quick. As I said previously, I clip a lot of stuff from the Twitch stream and throw it on the channel. So I definitely hope you enjoy it. Go show love on the Twitch. Thank you for watching the video, and thanks for tuning in. Peace. Be easy.